Hi, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be discussing arguments made by this guy. The channel is Capturing Christianity, so you can check out the video. His name is Cameron, and I'll be addressing this video to him. Hi, Cameron. Recently you posted a video where you were somewhat confused about the difference between claims and evidence. In that video you were commenting on a debate between Matt Dillahunty and another gentleman. Initially, Matt gave a pretty accurate description specific to the 500 Brethren and the appearance of Jesus, and why it would not be considered evidence but a claim instead. Later, you questioned him about this and was hoping for clarification, and I agree Matt was quite unclear, as it seemed he was providing a sort of general definition and not getting to the core of your query. So let me try to clarify. Since this claim is made by someone other than the 500, namely Paul, and we do not know how Paul came to know of this or the reliability of the sources that he got it from, this would only constitute a claim. This would only provide evidence that Paul had heard of this somehow or potentially made it up, otherwise he wouldn't have mentioned it at all. You then went on to provide examples and concluded that some claims can provide good evidence. Now, this statement is sort of true, but a bit misleading, and I think this may be where your misunderstanding is coming from. A claim can encompass evidence depending on the circumstances, if it is first-hand knowledge or how soon after the events the claim's being made and who is making the claim, etc. These can alter the degree of evidence that they provide. So technically, for claims to become evidence, we need to look at this sort of supporting evidence or background information to determine whether or not it reaches this level. Using your example, when a daughter claims that she witnessed someone falling down in class, this is a claim. But it is also first-hand experience. The first-hand knowledge of the event provides more evidentiary weight than if her friends had told her of the event or if she read it online or something like that. This is also someone that you would trust to tell you the truth about such a thing. And it seems that your daughter would probably tell you this on the day of the event and not many years later. Therefore, it is more believable that this event occurred than if it did not occur. So, to be clear, the claims in and of themselves do not provide evidence of the event. Only after considering the supporting evidence do they provide that evidence or rise to that level. A good example would be that if instead of hearing about someone falling down in class from your daughter, you instead found it written anonymously on a piece of paper as you were randomly walking down the street. In this instance, we have no knowledge of the source, or when or where the event took place. We don't know if this is first-hand or hearsay. This would be a claim that provides no evidence, and yet it is the exact same claim made by your daughter, meaning that claims themselves do not hold any intrinsic evidence, and it also does not matter what the claim is about. This also refutes your sort of tangent about why claims about miracles cannot provide evidence of miracles. It was somewhere in here. And as far as I can tell, I don't know if Matt ever mentioned anything about this. So I'm not too sure why you went down this sort of line of reasoning. Your next example, when a daughter claims that aliens are on Mars, I assume this would not be first-hand knowledge, unless she recently took a school trip to Mars. Pretty unlikely. So if you got that information from another source, is that source a peer-reviewed journal saying that they had found evidence of aliens, or some rambling person on the street? Overall, this is not a good analogy. A better example would be if your daughter claimed that aliens appeared to 500 people at once, many years ago, and then claimed that they visited her as well. You can probably see where I'm going with this. So, does that mean that your daughter claiming aliens appearing to 500, is that evidence that they actually appeared to 500? No, it would not be evidence that your daughter... it would only be evidence that your daughter heard of them appearing to 500, or again, is making it up. This is the exact same reasoning that we applied to Paul's claim. What about her second claim, that aliens visited her as well? Again, this would not be evidence that aliens actually visited her, but evidence that your daughter had an experience that made her believe aliens had visited her, or once again, made it up. Continuing on in the video, after a bit of sort of analysis, you concluded with this statement, quote, "I think the only intellectual thing we can say about the resurrection is that based on the claims of the New Testament authors, we have some evidence that the event happened," end quote. No, this is not true. If instead of saying resurrection, you had said Paul's experience, then that would be more accurate. Let's look at a specific claim that does have evidence for it. The one we have is from Paul in the same sentence. He claims a first-hand experience where, quote, "he appeared to me also." This is at the end of his statement. But he doesn't explain exactly what that experience was or how he appeared. So at best, this is evidence that Paul had a religious experience, or religious experience is not evidence of a resurrection. So you cannot go from the statement that Paul made, "he appeared to me also," to a Jewish man that was killed, got up out of his tomb days later, said hi to his friend Peter, then to the 12, and then made a guest appearance at a religious rally of 500 people. This is a giant leap of faith that requires evidence. And this is what non-Christians are waiting for you to provide, this evidence. If you want to use the Gospels as evidence, then you are using anonymous documents written down many decades after the event, coming from non-witnesses. So by definition, these are claims and not evidence. This is why Paul's authentic letters are considered the best evidence by historians that Jesus existed at all, because they are first-hand descriptions of his own life and experiences. There are multiple letters written to multiple churches corroborating that he was working in the religious business, and we get a good understanding of the type of person Paul was. Also, it seems pretty unlikely that these letters were made up. Even though about half of the letters in the New Testament attributed to Paul are actual forgeries, this does not discount the evidence that the authentic letters can provide. Now, since we do have a pretty good idea about the type of person Paul was, he was a religious fanatic who went about persecuting Christians and other heretics. An individual that ran a church full of people speaking in tongues, others interpreting, laying on hands, prophesying, etc. It would not be out of the ordinary for such a man to have a religious experience. In fact, it would be expected behavior. The same would be true of a religious gathering of 500 people. This happens today. If you asked people that go to similar religious events whether or not they felt the presence of Jesus or the Holy Spirit, and if Jesus appeared to them, they would probably admit that yes, they had such an experience. The same is true of other religions as well, all around the world and throughout human history. These events are not miraculous, and claims that they happened in the past or even today are not evidence that their interpretations of those events are true. So just to conclude this video, there were a couple of moments in your video, this would be one of them, where you made sort of a gotcha statement and then sort of took a sip from your cup here. Considering in both of these statements, the insinuations that you made with those statements are both false. Namely, we do not have a claim by a witness to the resurrection. That was the first one. And secondly, we do not have multiple witnesses to an event. You seem to be confusing witnesses and claims in this statement. Now, this could just be an honest mistake, which is the point of this video, is to sort of clear that up. Even still, these moments do not bring out the best in you. I would have expected a bit more humbleness coming from a Christian. I hope this clears up the difference between claims and evidence. If you have more questions, then I'm sure you can find a way to ask them. And thank you for your time.